Dough cracks under her hands, splits right down the middle, dry as the ground beneath us. Soraya doesn't flinch. She folds it, presses, folds again. Her fingers work the mixture like she's arguing with it. Quiet argument, the kind she always wins. I'm watching her when I should be watching the fire, but the fire isn't going anywhere, not in this heat. Everything here wants to burn. 147 degrees. That's what the air feels like when you stop moving and let it press against your face. I don't have a thermometer. Don't need one. My skin is the thermometer, my cracked lips, the way my eyes sting when I blink too slow. We're cooking today. That's the plan. That's what she decided this morning when she laid out the dried meat. The handful of flour we've been saving, the small clay pot of rendered fat. She arranged them on the flat stone like a merchant displaying goods. Looked at me once, just once. That look meant, we eat today, not tomorrow. Today. The problem is water. There is none. Not a drop in the goatskin. Not a trickle from the rocks we checked at dawn. The nearest source is half a day's walk east, and by the time we'd get there and back, the sun would have taken more from us than the water could return. So we stay. We cook with what we have. Fat, heat, patience. Soraya's hands. I scrape the coals flat with a stick. The wood we collected yesterday. Brittle tamarisk branches, a few chunks of dried root, burns fast and hot. Too hot almost. The flames are short, blue at the base, angry orange at the tips. I need them lower. Need the heat steady, not violent. I spread sand over the edges of the fire pit. Pack it down. Create a channel where the coals can breathe but the flames stay contained. My hands are wrapped in strips of cloth, but the heat still finds its way through. It always does. Soraya is 10 steps away, in the shadow of the rock overhang. Not much shadow, just enough to keep the direct sun off her workspace. She's grinding something between two stones. I can hear the rhythm. Scrape, scrape, pause, scrape. She's turning dried wild thyme into powder. The smell reaches me even here, even through the smoke. Sharp, green, alive in a way nothing else around us is. My job is the meat. 3 strips of dried goat, hard as leather. Dark as old wood. In a normal kitchen you'd soak these in water for hours, rehydrate them, let them soften and swell back into something that remembers being food. But we don't have water, so I use fat. I drop a lump of rendered tail fat into the clay pot. It's already sitting on the coals, and the fat doesn't melt. It surrenders. Instantly liquid, shimmering. I lay the first strip of meat into the fat and it hisses. Spits. Curls at the edges like a living thing pulling away from pain. I press it flat with the stick. Hold it. The fat bubbles around the edges of the meat, working its way into the fibers, loosening them. This is how you cook without water. You replace one liquid with another. The fat does what water would do, softens, carries heat, breaks down the toughness. It just does it slower, heavier, with a different kind of patience. The smell hits me. Rich, deep, animal. My stomach responds before my brain does, clenches, growls. I haven't eaten since yesterday's flatbread, a thin, dry thing that crumbled more than it chewed. Today will be different. Today Soraya has plans. She's moved on from the time. Now she's working with something else, a dried root she dug up 2 days ago. I don't know its name. She does. Her mother taught her, or her grandmother, or the desert itself. She scrapes the root against the rough stone, and pale shavings fall onto a piece of cloth. She collects them carefully, nothing wasted. In the desert, waste is a kind of dying. I flip the first strip of meat. The underside is darker now, glazed with fat, the fibers separating slightly.
Do you see it?
Good.
Yes.
I add the second strip. The pot is small, barely fits both pieces side by side. I have to angle them, overlap the edges. The fat level drops. I add another lump. Watch it dissolve. My forehead drips onto my hand. Not water, salt. The body giving up what it can't afford to lose. I wipe my face with my sleeve. The fabric is already stiff with dried sweat from yesterday. Doesn't absorb much anymore. Just moves the wet around. Soraya stands. Walks over to a flat rock on the eastern side of our camp. She'd placed something there this morning. I remember seeing her arrange it, but didn't ask what. Now I see. She's laid thin strips of a wild onion on the hot stone surface, not over fire, just on the rock. The sun and the stone together have been slowly roasting them all morning. She picks one up, tests it between her fingers. It bends, but doesn't break. She nods to herself. She figured this out on her own. No fire needed for the onion. The desert does the work. 147 degrees on a dark stone surface. That's enough. That's an oven. She sees ovens where I see emptiness. The third strip of meat goes in. I need to manage the heat now. The coals are shifting, one side hotter than the other. I use the stick to redistribute them. Push the brightest ones to center. Surround them with the grayer, spent ones. Build a heat island. The pot needs even warmth, not spikes. The meat is starting to change, not just softer, transformed. The fat has penetrated deep into the fibers now. What was rigid and dead is becoming food again, becoming something a body can use. I can see the texture shifting, the grain opening up. The color changes from that dead brown to something warmer, almost golden at the edges where the fat crisps. Soraya is back at her station. She's combined the thyme powder with the root shavings and something else, crushed dried berries, dark red, almost black. I've seen her use them before. They add a sourness that cuts through fat. Clever. Without water, everything we cook will be heavy, rich, dense. The sourness will balance it. She knows this. She's been cooking in the desert longer than I've been paying attention. I catch her glancing at my fire. Quick look. Professional assessment. She doesn't say anything. Doesn't need to. If something was wrong, she'd let me know. The silence means I'm doing fine. I'll take it. The wind comes in from the south. Brief. Hot. Not a relief. More like opening the door of a kiln. It carries dust into the cook area. I shield the pot with my body. Turn my back to it. Feel the sand pepper my neck, get into my collar, settle between my shoulder blades. When it passes, I check the meat. A fine coating of dust on the rim of the pot. I wipe it with the cloth. The meat is still clean, submerged in fat. Protected. Soraya wasn't so lucky. The wind scattered some of her spice mixture. She stares at the cloth for a moment. Assesses the loss. Decides it's manageable. Gathers what remains toward the center. Continues working. No frustration. No wasted energy on what can't be changed. I've never been able to do that. Accept loss that easily. She makes it look like breathing. My lips crack when I press them together. I taste blood. Copper and salt. I need water and there is no water. So I don't think about it. Focus on the meat. Turn each piece. Check the underside. The fat is darkening now, taking on the flavor of the coals, the smoke, the meat itself. Good fat. The kind that carries a meal on its back. She's making the dough again. Fresh attempt. Same ingredients. Flour. A small amount of fat worked in with her fingertips. A pinch of salt. No water. The dough should be impossible without water. But she uses the fat differently than I would. She warms it first in her palms, softens it until it's almost liquid from body heat, then works it into the flour in stages. Not all at once, layer by layer. Each fold traps a thin film of fat between sheets of flour. It's not bread dough, it's something else. Something she invented out of necessity. The dough still cracks, but less now. She folds. Presses. The cracks close partially, open elsewhere. She chases them. Folds again. Her palms are white with flour up to the wrists. Sweat from her arms threatens to drip into the mixture, and she tilts her elbows outward. Uses gravity to redirect the sweat down her forearms and off the point of her elbows, away from the food. I've never noticed her doing that before. How many times has she done it? How many small adjustments like that does she make every time she cooks? Things I never see because I'm not looking closely enough. The meat is ready. All 3 strips softened, fat-braised, the fibers loose enough to pull apart. I lift them out with 2 sticks, lay them on a flat stone to cool slightly. The fat drips off, pools beneath them. That fat goes back in the pot. Nothing wasted. Now, the dough. Soraya brings it over. She's divided it into small rounds, not flat yet, just portioned. 6 pieces, each one the size of a closed fist. She kneels beside the fire pit and studies the surface of the coals. Looks at me, points to the left side. I understand. She wants that section cleared. Coals pushed aside, the hot sand exposed. I do it. Sweep the coals to the right with the stick. The sand beneath is scorching, nearly white with heat. She takes the first dough round, presses it flat between her palms, quick, practiced motions until it's thin, uneven, about the width of my hand spread open. Then she places it directly on the hot sand. No pan, no stone, just dough on sand. It sizzles. The bottom crisps immediately. A thin crust of sand will stick to it. She knows this. She planned for it. Later, she'll tap the bread against a rock, and the sand falls away. Mostly. The rest adds grit, adds minerals, adds whatever the desert wants to contribute to the meal. We've eaten sand-baked bread before. You learn not to mind the crunch. You learn to call it texture. She places the second round beside the first. Watches, times it in her head. I can see her counting, not moving her lips, but something in her eyes shifts with each beat. When she reaches her number, she flips the first one. The underside is spotted brown and gold, with a fine sand crust that glistens with the fat worked into the dough. It smells like something from before, from a time when meals were taken for granted. I tend the coals on my side. Keep the meat warm. Start thinking about assembly. How does this come together? Meat, bread, spices, simple components. But out here under this sun, with no water and the air itself trying to cook us, simple is a kind of miracle. Soraya finishes all 6 rounds, stacks them on a cloth. They're imperfect, different sizes, different thicknesses, some more charred than others. She examines each one, rejects none. They all have their role. She carries the spice mixture to the meat, crumbles it over the strips with her fingers, rubbing the thyme and root and dried berry directly into the surface. The warmth of the meat activates the oils in the herbs. The smell changes, becomes complex, layered. The animal richness of the fat meets the sharp green of the thyme, meets the sour edge of the berries. My mouth responds. Saliva I didn't know I still had. Now the onion. She retrieves the sun-roasted strips from the rock. They're soft, translucent, deeply caramelized by hours of radiant heat. She tears them into smaller pieces with her fingernails, arranges them on top of the meat, each piece placed like it matters, because it does. I watch her build this meal and I think, this is what survival looks like. Not the dramatic moments, not the near-death, the storm, the scorpion in the boot. It's this. A woman arranging onion on meat in silence because she refuses to let this day pass without feeding us something real. Something that tastes like it was chosen, not endured. She's done. Steps back, looks at what she's made. The flat stone holds everything. The meat, torn into pieces now, glazed with fat and herbs and onion. The bread stacked beside it. The small pile of remaining spice mix on the edge, for dipping. She sits across from me, pulls her headscarf forward to block the sun from her face. Waits. I take the first piece of bread. Tear it. It gives way unevenly. Thick in some places, thin in others. I fold a piece of meat inside it. Press. The fat soaks into the bread instantly. I add a fragment of onion, a pinch of spice. I eat. The first bite is always the hardest to describe. Not because it's complicated, because it isn't. It's bread and meat and herbs and fat. But after hours of heat and thirst and smoke in your eyes and sand in your collar, after your body has been spending itself all morning with nothing coming in, that first bite is the body remembering what it's for. Not just surviving, living. The bread crunches, sand and crust and char. The meat pulls apart in soft fibers, saturated with fat. The herbs sharp on my tongue. The onion adds sweetness I didn't expect. The berry sourness arrives late, at the back, after I've swallowed. A ghost flavor that makes me want the next bite before I've finished processing the first. Soraya eats differently. Smaller bites. She holds each one longer in her mouth, closes her eyes sometimes. Her jaw works slowly, deliberately, like she's having a conversation with the food, asking it questions, listening to the answers. We eat without speaking. Two people on a flat stone in the middle of a desert that should have killed us 100 times over, eating a meal made from almost nothing. And it is not almost nothing. It's everything we have, and it's enough. The fat cools on my fingers. I wipe them on my pants. Leave a dark stain. Another stain. These pants are a map of every meal we've cooked out here. Grease marks and ash smudges and flour dust and blood from butchering. Soraya says I should wash them. I will. When we find water. She makes a small pile of the bread and meat and wraps it in cloth. Sets it aside for tonight. She always does this. Saves a portion before we finish eating. Discipline I don't have. If she didn't do it, I'd eat everything now and regret it later. She knows this about me. Has known it for decades. Doesn't judge. Just saves the food and puts it where I can't reach it without her noticing. The fire has burned down. Just embers now. A low orange glow that pulses when the wind breathes on it. The pot sits to the side, the remaining fat solidifying as it cools. That fat will be used tomorrow, and the day after. Every bit of it. Scooped out with a finger or a stick and used for the next fire, the next meal, the next impossible recipe that Soraya invents from dust and stubbornness. I lean back against the rock behind me. It's hot. Everything here is hot, but the food sits heavy in my stomach. Warm in a different way. A chosen warmth. Not the sun beating on you from outside, but fuel burning slow on the inside, the body using what it's been given. A beetle crosses the sand near my foot. Black, shiny, moving with purpose towards something I can't see. It navigates around a pebble, climbs a small ridge of sand, continues on its path. It knows where it's going. In the desert, everything that survives knows where it's going, or acts like it does, which amounts to the same thing. Soraya is cleaning, already, while I sit here watching beetles. She scrapes the flat stone with a piece of dry brush, collects the crumbs and spice remnants, brushes the sand off the bread baking area. She'll have the camp kitchen spotless in minutes, ready for the next time, even though we don't know when the next time will be, or what we'll have to work with. I should help. I know I should. But my body has made a decision, and the decision is, don't move. The food and the heat have formed an alliance against my muscles. Every joint has gone soft. My eyelids are heavier than they've been all day. She glances over, sees me sinking, a flicker at the corner of her mouth. Not quite a smile, more like recognition. She's seen me like this 1,000 times. Man works, man eats, man becomes useless. She keeps working. She always keeps working. I'll make it up to her later. I'll take the night watch. Keep the fire alive while she sleeps. That's the trade. That's how it's always been. The afternoon heat is peaking. The air ripples above the sand. Mirages in the distance. False lakes, phantom rivers. The desert showing you what you want and daring you to chase it. I'm too full and too tired to be tempted. Not today. I pull my turban lower over my eyes. Find the strip of shadow cast by the rock overhang. It's narrow, barely covers half my body. My legs are in full sun. I can feel the heat through my pants, into my skin, down to the bone. But my upper half is shaded. My stomach is full. These two facts make everything else tolerable. Soraya finishes her cleaning, sits down in the shadow beside me. Not touching. There's no need for touch when the air itself is pressing on your skin from every direction. But close. Close enough that I can hear her breathing slow as she settles. The rhythm changes, work breathing to rest breathing, faster to slower, shallower to deeper. She pulls her headscarf over her face. Protection from the sun, from the dust, from the brightness. In minutes, her breathing evens out. Sleep comes easy to her. Always has. She sleeps like she does everything else. Completely, without hesitation, committed to whatever she's doing with her full self. I stay awake a while longer. Watch the coals, they're almost gray now. Just a hint of red deep inside when the wind comes. Dying the way fires die out here. Slowly, reluctantly, heat fading in layers. The meat taste lingers on my tongue. Fat and thyme and that sour berry ghost. My stomach works quietly, pulling apart what we gave it, converting bread and meat and onion into another day. Another set of hours in this landscape that doesn't care whether we're here or not. That's fine. We don't need it to care. The food is saved for tonight. The pot is cooling. The fire is embers. Soraya sleeps beside me, and the shadow has moved an inch to the east since we sat down. I should sleep too. Tomorrow we'll need to find water. Real water, not the mirage kind. We'll walk east. Start early, before the sun remembers what it's capable of. Carry the goat skin and hope. But that's tomorrow. Right now, my stomach is full and my wife is beside me, and the fire is still warm enough to prove it happened. We cooked today. In the middle of nothing, with nothing, and made something worth eating, worth remembering. I pull my turban over my eyes. My legs burn in the sun. I don't move them. Soraya breathes. The coals tick and settle. I close my eyes and the desert is still there behind my lids. The same brown, the same gold, the same heat. But it's quieter now. Softer. The way a room gets softer after a meal. I sleep. When I wake, the shadow will have moved. The coals will be dead. The heat will still be here, waiting, patient as stone. But the bread is wrapped in cloth. The fat is saved. Soraya will know what to do with tomorrow. She always does. I add a piece of root to the coals. Not enough to flame. Just enough to glow. Soraya shifts in her sleep. I pull the cloth over the food one more time, tighter at the edges where the sand blows in. Then I settle back. Close my eyes again. The heat presses. The coals tick. Somewhere far off. Wind pushes sand across sand in a sound like breathing. We eat again at dusk.